Question 2 then. So in this question we've been given some data in a group frequency table. So we are being asked firstly to state the modal value. So which number comes up most, which number of visitors comes up most. So in this case the modal value, the number of visitors coming up most, is going to be equal to the number of days which is highest. So in this case the mode is 26 visitors. That's part A, part 1. Find values for the median and interquartile range. Now, when I did this, when I was marking this, students did one of two things. Some students put all the data into the calculator, others tried to work it out themselves. Now, I'm going to show you how to do it by putting all of the information into the calculator. Okay, so I've just put the information into the calculator here. You'll see that for the 11th value, I've used the value of 30 instead of 30 or more, and for the first value, I've used the number 20. Now, this obviously is not mathematically correct, this is not strictly true, but for median and interquartile range, where we're actually looking for values within the data itself, it is okay just to use any number as long as it's smaller than all of the others for the 20 and 30. So you could, if you wanted to, use 18 or 17 or something like that. It would make no difference to this. So we're going to calculate the median and interquartile range. So we press our calculate button. Sorry, I've double clicked there. Now, before I go into my one variable, I need to check my setup because my default setup is actually wrong for this question. When we're doing first variable, the first list is our list of values, which we have here, but the frequency is not the same. It's not that there is one of each value. The frequencies are actually stored in list 2. So I need to change this value to list number 2. And in doing that, what I'm telling my calculator is that the 6 here means that there are 6 23s in the data that I wish for it to calculate. So then it is still only one variable, so I'm then going to click one var here, and this then gives me all of the information that I need. Now, little things that we can do to check, things like the total number of days was 55, that correlates here, so I probably haven't made a mistake in my data input. Now I'm looking for the interquartile range and median, so we scroll down to this section here, and the smallest value is 20 and the biggest value is 30, not strictly true, but the rest of it is. So the median, the median value is equal to 25. The lower quartile is equal to 24, and the upper quartile is equal to 26. So the interquartile range is going to be 26 minus 24, which is equal to 2. So for my 2 marks, it was 1 mark for correctly saying the 25 there, and 1 mark for the 2. So I've used my calculator in order to do that. Now that brings us quite nicely on to part B. Name one measure of average and one measure of spread that cannot be calculated exactly from the data in the table. Now, let's just give ourselves a bit of space here. The measure of average that cannot be calculated is the mean. Now the mean cannot be calculated because the mean takes into account every single piece of data. Okay, so it's add every single one, divide by how many. And if we just go back up to our data, we wouldn't know what number to add in for the 20 or fewer and 30 or more. So I've written can be calculated, can't be calculated. Just use that there. The value of the measure of spread, there are 2 possible answers. So you could have said, well, 3 actually. You could say standard deviation or variance cannot be calculated, or you could have said that the range cannot be calculated. So either of those cannot be calculated. So it was 1 mark for mean and 1 mark for either of standard deviation, variance or range. Now for part C, reference to the raw data revealed that the 3 unknown exact values in the table were 13, 37 and 58. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back in here and change my first one to 13. There was 113, okay? So that value that was smaller, fewer than 20, that we didn't know, is now a 13. And the two values bigger than 30 were actually 37, which occurs once, and 58, which occurs once. So I'm going to change the 30 here to 37, which occurs once, and to 58, which also occurs once. Now, depending on what you've written, obviously changes what you're going to do here, but for part C, the mean, we can now calculate once again by going back into our first variable. So the mean is x bar is 25.6 visitors, so that's our mean number given the information that we've got. And then if we're doing the standard deviation, this is a standard deviation, in my opinion, of a sample, so we're going to use the top one here. Incidentally, it doesn't actually matter which of the two you use, either one gives you the correct, gives you the mark. So if you write down 5.26 or if you wrote down 5.31, you would get the marks. If you had referenced the range instead, then you'd have to calculate the range. So let's just using our calculator to help us a little bit again. The biggest value is 58. And the smallest value is 13. So 58 take away 13, the range is 45. So you needed this correct mean here and one of these two answers. So either of the 5.263 or 45, and then that was the other two marks, giving you the full complement for this question.